Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. You know, South Africa is just lurching towards a precipice. A couple of weeks ago, it hit 15 Rand to the US dollar, and it's not far off it right now. And the rating agencies are certainly not in favor with the South African government. Fitch Ratings has just downgraded South Africa's debt to negative, and it seems that Standard & Poor are shortly going to be on their heels, following the same direction. In fact, there's only one ratings organisation that's keeping the rand afloat, and that's Moodys. And what is going to be the trigger point that'll say, hey, this is junk? Because when that happens, going to pull a lot of triggers, and the rand is just going to sink in a deep, deep hole. Let's have a look at what the situation is right now in South Africa when it comes to the rand. Lesetja Kanganyho, then the top official of South Africa's Treasury, was taking a break at Sugarloaf Mountain Road in Rio de Janeiro between two G20 meetings in November 2008 when he got the bad news. Barely 3 years after his country had managed to get its highest ever investment grade ratings from two of the three main credit rating companies, the global financial crisis was threatening to reverse that process. South Africa was one of multiple emerging markets in the company's crosshairs. Fitch Ratings lowered its outlook on South Africa's debt to negative. S&P Global Ratings followed suit soon after. Kanganyho spent a short break he had planned fielding calls. The 3 days holiday was not to be, Kanganyho, now head of the central bank, said, on the 32nd floor of the bank's headquarters in Pretoria. The policies that we had in place stood us in very good state to respond to the 2008 global crisis, he said. In fact, the first downgrade didn't come for another 4 years. But it didn't stop there. Under President Jacob Zuma, who arrived in 2009 and left office last year, corruption, scandals, overspending, policy uncertainty, and rising government debt have left South Africa with only one investment grade rating. The tools the government deployed in the 2000s to build buffers against external crisis, a budget surplus, falling debt levels and policy certainty are lacking today, said Lungisa Fazili, Chief Executive Officer of Standard Bank Group's South African unit. He succeeded Kanganyho as the Treasury's Director General in May 2011. We had avoided moments where we could have lost our credit rating because of external macroeconomic shocks, because of very deliberate actions, he said. The current, more precarious state was self-inflicted, he said. South Africa was well prepared in 2008 because former President Nelson Mandela and Thabo Mbeki didn't want to repeat the financial troubles experienced by some African nations that achieved independence before South Africa's 1994 transition to democracy. The two leaders were determined to avoid borrowing from the International Monetary Fund, Fazili said. Once the world believed in South Africa and its commitment to sound macroeconomics management, it paid off handsomely, he said. Yields on the country's generic rand-dominated 10-year debt, which date back to November 1999, more than halved by mid-2006, after peaking at 15.27% in May 2000. The economy grew for 42 consecutive quarters, starting at the end of 1998. For a long period of time, South Africa's credit rating was preserved by the credibility that was earned in the earlier years. And the more we derived benefits from that credibility, the more reckless people were becoming, Fazili said. Now with that trust all but lost, President Cyril Ramaphosa's new cabinet is battling to preserve the remaining investment-grade credit rating from Moody's Investor Service. In the face of contracting economy, the biggest budget shortfall in 10 years, and a power utility that needs billions of rand to keep the lights on. I'm surprised they haven't downgraded us yet, said Tabi Leoka, an independent economist. There are many signs that say we deserve it because we're working very hard to ensure that we get a downgrade, she added in jest. Losing its sole investment grade assessment would push South Africa out of debt indexes, including the FTSE World Government Bond Index, which according to the IMF could trigger forced outflows of around $1.5 billion. That's about 20 billion rand, and push up borrowing costs even more. The country can't afford to lose this rating because of how reliant it is on portfolio inflows to help finance the current account and budget deficits, Leoka said. South Africa's unemployment rate is up 28% since 2008. What will it take for Ramaphosa's government to avoid this and be assessed as investment grade by other rating companies again? While the Treasury said the government's main focus is to regain investment grade status and make the country an attractive investment destination, it needs to do so with a sense of urgency, said Leoka. Now, guess what's not going to help this goal? And that's expropriation of land without compensation. I mean, that is the killer. It's the last nail in the coffin for the South African economy. According to Estienne Kalitz, an emeritus professor at Stellenbosch University who was the Director General of the Department of Finance in the mid-1990s, the country needs decisive action against corruption, deliberate decisions to turn around state companies, and better coordination of economic policy. It will also take a fair amount of patience with ratings companies, according to former central bank governor Chris Stals. There is no magic formula that any country can employ to influence these ratings, Stals said. The solution lies in appropriate political, social, and macroeconomic policies. Fitch spokesman Peter Fitzpatrick referred to some of the company's recent published reports when asked what it considers when assessing ratings. The firm said in May that weak reforms momentum meant that the potential growth is likely to remain low and continue to weigh on South Africa's ratings. Moodys also resents some of its most recent analysis on South Africa, and SAP didn't immediately respond to emails seeking employment. Ramaphosa will give his third State of the Nation address this week, the first since being an official mandate by leading the ruling African National Congress to victory in last month's election. While his move to regain key ministers such as Tito Mboweni in finance and Pravin Gordhan at public enterprise drew praise from investors, boosting economic growth and stabilizing government finances to regain the confidence will take longer, especially with Eskom in dire financial straits. Yeah, fuck a money! Economic gains take a long time to come by, Kaganyo said. They take a lot of very difficult trade-offs, and many of these trade-offs are painful. And it is amazing once you have the gains, people forget how hard it took to come to get those gains, and that losing them could be much faster. So the bottom line is that it's rather like the mountain climber, with the tie ropes, the safety ropes. And several of them have bust. And there's only one tie rope actually holding the rand up, and that's Moodys, who've kept it as investment grade. But Moodys are now talking about turning the rand to junk. And as soon as they do that, you watch that rand's value implode. It's going to be really nasty, guys. I'm just letting you know. That's why I say, if you've got money in the bank, put it in something that's denominated in US dollars, because that way you protect its value. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed, ring the bell for the updates, and have a great evening.